Wow, we've got a huge update for you guys that we need to go over, and I wanted to get on camera in order to do so. So Nintendo has officially confirmed of the successor to the Nintendo Switch and anything outside of just, hey, we're working on something, we're always working on new hardware. But Furukawa has officially came out and said, yes, there is a successor to Nintendo Switch, and we will announce it sometime between not at this point and March of next year. So it's going to be very exciting. Now I want to read the exact message that Furukawa did have, just so we can all make sure that we're clear about that. And then we'll get into the big revelations when it comes to the Nintendo Switch and what's happening there, because I find this stuff to be fascinating, and Nintendo's on the verge of doing something that no other system has ever been able to do. So Nintendo will announce the successor to the Nintendo Switch within the fiscal year, which ends on March 31st, 2025, Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa said in a statement, and Gematsu writes, a Nintendo Direct will be held in June, but it'll be focused on Nintendo Switch software only for the last half of 2024. Here is the full statement from Mr. Furukawa. This is Shuntaro Furukawa, President of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to the Nintendo Switch within the fiscal year. It will have been over 9 years since we announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We will be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024, but please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation. So there you go, guys. We finally have an official confirmation that Nintendo will be making an announcement about this next system sometime from not at this point to March of next year. I think that Nintendo will make an announcement in the second half of this year. So think very much like the Nintendo Switch. How was that officially revealed? Yes, they said that, hey, it's coming at some point and all that, but they had to because the Wii U was a disaster and the 3DS was slowing down dramatically in sales. So I think Nintendo's gonna do the Nintendo Switch plan. And the Nintendo Switch plan was this. October, they had the reveal of the system, but it left out a lot of key details. But we saw the concept, we saw some games, no announcements of any of those games. We didn't know what was going on, but we knew that there was games coming and we knew of the concept of the system. Nintendo provided a few basic bits of information saying, hey, this is a home console that you can take on the go, and a couple other things, but that was it. And we knew that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was going to be on there. We had a number of ideas of certain games, but we didn't have anything official. And then later in January, that was the true reveal of the Nintendo Switch, because in January 2017 we got a full presentation, a big presentation that showed off the price, no region locking, Nintendo Switch Online, games, announcements, dates. There was all sorts of things to talk about it. We had new game reveals. It was pretty incredible when you think about it, considering the volume of content that was announced at that show. So it was pretty cool, and people didn't really appreciate what Nintendo was doing while it was happening. I was covering this stuff in real time, and so many people were skeptical because before, what you used to have to do was maybe announce a system like at E3, or announce a system in some type of way, then say exactly what's happening right then and there, and you would give it plenty of time before the launch. But Nintendo took a very different approach, a very unorthodox approach of announcing the system and within 5 to 6 months launching the system. I think that that works a bit better than announcing the system and showing off everything and then having fans have to wait for 1+ year like the Wii U and like other systems before the Nintendo's done in order to get their hands on things. Now, I will talk a little bit more about this in just a bit, but I wanted to get into some other big information with the Nintendo Switch and when it comes to the sales data and what is happening with the system, the base Switch. It looks like it's on track to beat out the PlayStation 2 based off of what Nintendo is talking about in their forecast and what they potentially have for us in 2024. And it also shows us this past quarter, I would say, shows that Nintendo can still sell software with the best of them, because 2 new million sellers are now in the club, and there's still hundreds of thousands, millions really, but hundreds of thousands of each of their evergreen games that are still plugging along and selling units. Now let's go ahead and get into that here. The Nintendo Switch has now sold 141.32 million units worldwide as of March 31st, 2024. That is about 2 million units for the past quarter. That is down from the 3 million that they sold previously, but Nintendo is getting into those twilight years, and the software lineup was not the strongest. However, they are forecasting 13 million plus sales, which would put the Nintendo Switch at around 154 million or so by March of next year. So Nintendo's going to be right there in that PlayStation 2 category between 155 to 160 million. And if Nintendo continues to have, let's just say, deals and software, whatever the case is, right? Because they're still planning on selling this thing. I think that the Nintendo Switch will eventually pass the PlayStation 2 based off of this. Now let's go ahead and get into more of the nitty gritty when it comes to Nintendo software sales, because this stuff is incredible. And like I did state, we will circle back around to the Nintendo Switch 2 and how the plan and the phase of what's happening here. So let's start off with the top 10 best selling software. I'm going to put it up for you guys. Number 10, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 17.45 million. Number 9, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom with 20.61 million. Number 8, Super Mario Party with 20.66 million. 7, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with 24.92 million. Number 6, Pokemon Sword and Shield with 26.27 million. Number 5, Super Mario Odyssey with 27.96 million. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with 31.85 million. Number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with 34.22 million. Number 2, Animal Crossing New Horizons with 45.36 million. And number 1, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with 61.97 million, which is absolutely insane for that. All of these games shifted hundreds of thousands of units in the past quarter. A lot of these games are continuing to sell very well post-launch, and I do see that it's going to continue, especially onto the Nintendo Switch 2, if some of these games, like let's say The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, gets a update patch. I think that's going to be huge when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom selling more, and even Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or just backwards compatibility, being able to play these games on the next system. That's going to help these games continue to have a very strong life, because all of them have been doing really, really well overall. Now let's talk about some of Nintendo's other games that have done well in the past quarter. Let's start off at the bottom with the new games here. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, brand new entry into the Million Seller Club, 1.12 million units for that game. And then Princess Peach Showtime also sold 1.22 million units. So both of Nintendo's big new releases did sell over 1 million units. And Princess Peach Showtime just came out in March, and these sales are to the end of March 31st. So within that first week or so that it was on sale there, it surpassed 1 million units plus. So we have a lot of Princess Peach fans out there trying out the game. Now, for some of the other games here, Super Mario RPG, very good to see this game tack on another couple 100,000 plus units when it comes down to it. Super Mario RPG at 3.31 million, Pikmin 4 at 3.48 million, Kirby and the Forgotten Land at 7.52 million, which is just incredible to see. I love the fact that Kirby and the Forgotten Land is doing so well. 7 million units, almost 8 million units for a Kirby game. Wow, I bet HAL Laboratory is absolutely ecstatic. And I know somewhere Sakurai is smiling about that one. Next up, Splatoon 3 at 11.96 million, getting very close to 12 million and surpassing Splatoon 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Next up is Mario Party Superstars at 12.89 million, Nintendo Switch Sports at 13.11 million, Super Mario Bros. Wonder at 13.44 million. This is also very good to see. Super Mario Bros. Wonder continues to tack on more and more sales, and I see this game as a super evergreen considering how polished and great the gameplay is, runs at a flawless 1080p 60 frames per second. It is so good to play, and I think it's going to be a game that people just continue to play years and years and years down the line because of how weird and unique and fun it is to play. The multiplayer's there. So Nintendo has a super hit with Super Mario Bros. Wonder at this point. After that, we've got Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury at 13.47 million units, and Luigi's Mansion 3 continues its super redemption run with 14.25 million units. I don't think anybody predicted that a Luigi's Mansion game. I remember when this franchise first started, I don't think anybody predicted that we would see Luigi's Mansion upward of 15 million units, considering where it was on the GameCube, then the Nintendo 3DS. The Switch has truly blown this franchise up, and I think that the Super Mario Bros. Movie has done wonders, because games like Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario RPG, all of these games are getting massive boosts because of how popular the Mario series is, because of that movie, because Nintendo and what they've done with the Switch. It's just incredible to see, and I'm very happy overall for all the developers that have worked on it, and of course the fans that love to play the Mario games. For me personally, if I had to pick out one thing that I'm truly happy about this when it comes down to the sales numbers here, is Super Mario RPG. It's so good to see that Super Mario RPG, it seems like, has outsold Paper Mario the Origami King and will go on to be one of the better Super Mario RPG games out there when it comes to sales. I think right there, that shows a lot that people love that classic Mario RPG formula. We got Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door coming out this month in May, so this is going to be crazy to see what this game does, because many feel that Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is the best console Mario RPG experience out there. We're not including the Mario and Luigi series. People love those, and those are great too, but a lot of people feel that this is the best console game overall for the Mario RPG series. So I'm excited to see how pumped people are to pick up this game and where it lands, because this is the future of the Mario RPG series being decided right now with games like Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. Now let's move back to the Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo's plans, because I find this to be fascinating. I've already got into some conversations with people online saying, oh my god, Nintendo, they just need to announce the system. What are you doing? This is stupid. You're delaying. You're making fake hype. Listen, guys, as someone who's been around for pretty much every single Nintendo launch, the one thing that you want to make sure that you do is not rush your launch. I don't care how successful or not your system is. A rushed launch is not a good launch. Making sure that you don't cross all of your T's and dot your I's is something that you need to do. Yes, that's boring. It's not as fun or as exciting as maybe some other people. It's not going on stage and saying this and giving all the details and letting people steal your ideas and all that. I get it. I 100% get it from the fan perspective. But as someone who has seen so many launches, I've seen Nintendo be very confident about their launches, announce things a year plus ahead of time. Just go ahead and put out the system with not enough software and certain things. And I've seen that nearly crash and burn, or crash and burn. Let me give you some examples. The Nintendo Wii U announced we had to wait a year plus for it. They did not have the software ready. Those developers did not have the grasp of the HD development, and it didn't turn out good when it came to first-party software. Overall, things weren't planned the best. The marketing, the name, there were so many different things that felt a bit rushed or not ready, and by the time that Nintendo fixed it or tried to fix it, it was already too late. Look back at the Nintendo 3DS. They just said, hey, look, the DS is one of the best-selling systems of all time. We can just put something out there with the gimmick. We don't need a lot of first-party software. Let's just announce it, get it out there. Looks cool. People will buy it. Yeah, it's even $250. No, people didn't buy it that way. They had to slash the price, and things started moving once they actually got the software out there with Mario Kart 7 and with Super Mario 3D Land. So with this system and the Nintendo Switch 2 officially being confirmed for an announcement at some point within the fiscal year, we need to make sure, Nintendo needs to make sure that they do everything right. So what does that mean? Well, they need to make sure that they have the launch software ready to go. Launch software is going to be very important. And when I mean launch software, I mean software for that year. Whatever is coming out within the next 9 months, that needs to be on lock. You cannot rely upon third-party developers. And I hear people say this, oh, well, it's Microsoft and Sony. This isn't Microsoft and Sony. Nintendo needs first-party games. They need big first-party games, just like the Nintendo Switch lineup. They need that big Mario, that big Zelda, Mario Kart, whatever the case is. They need that, and they need it staggered throughout the launch of it so people can get excited. Nintendo fans can get excited to go out there, pick up the system. Then, of course, word of mouth marketing and all that other stuff takes over from there. Nintendo needs to make sure that they get that right. They need to make sure that they get the online situated and set. You can't have the same situation that's going on with the Nintendo Switch, where Nintendo Switch Online was not even ready for the launch of the system. Now, it's going to be easier because they built the infrastructure already. The new NPLN system that they've implemented back in 2021 is built in, and they're slowly writing the code and everything in. And it's been getting a bit better. They have online already set with the Nintendo Switch Online, so they can simply take that and get it ready and have it available. But it needs to be faster. It needs to be better. The system needs to be able to acclimate to everything that you're doing, because it's not the same system, but it's more like it's going to be iterative. At least it seems like it's going to be, to where it's going to be more of an evolution of the Nintendo Switch. So I don't think it's going to be too hard for them to get everything going on there, but you still need to make sure that you have your plans, your pricing, everything set at that point. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, Nintendo is going to have a hyped launch. This is going to be one of the biggest launches for Nintendo of all time, because they're coming off a successful system that's been on the market for a very long time, and expectations are high. You can not only have 2 million units for the launch month like we saw with the Nintendo Switch. That's all they had. There was shortages for a half year plus on the Nintendo Switch. You have to make sure that you have more than that. Nintendo needs to have these systems manufactured, tested, and ready to go. You cannot have the Joy-Con situation that they had before. You need to make sure that that is stamped out well before the system launches and goes into manufacturing. So they did have some patents for the Hall effect and all of that. So I do think that that is going to be making sure that they take care of that. Plus, there's been a bunch of Joy-Cons that have came out since then that have really been way better than Nintendo's Joy-Cons. So I think that they're going to learn from that as well. But they do have a patent for the Hall effect Joy-Cons, or the Hall effect analog sticks. So we shouldn't have an issue with that. So I want to see Nintendo make sure that they have all of that taken care of and have a large amount of systems ready. They're going to need, probably within the first month, at least a minimum of 5 to 10 million systems. It's going to be way more, because the Nintendo Switch is such a known commodity. You have kids that have grown up that this is their first system. They're now teenagers or college students. They were kids when the Switch first came out and they got it for Christmas one year, and now they're older. They can now buy their own systems and everything. So you're going to have to make sure that you have everything set for that. But the launch software is so important. I'm guessing that Nintendo will be launching the Nintendo Switch 2 probably by March. I think that March of 2025 will be the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. They're going to play this like the Switch book. They're going to have that event, like I said, in October or so, second half of this year. Then they're going to have a presentation in early next year, 2025, and then launch that baby with all that information. And I think if you do it that way, if you have all of that, if your lineup is set, if you have the systems ready to go, this should be the most successful launch in Nintendo history at this point. They only have one system. They did a good job of combining their portable and their home console. All the games come into one platform, although I do think that there will be some cross-gen stuff with the Nintendo Switch. I think that they're going to slash the price and still manufacture it, put out some units, and I think eventually, like I stated, they will pass the PlayStation 2 sometime in 2026. I think 2026, end of 2025, 2026, I think they could pass the PS2, because they won't need much more after, if they sell their 13 million units that they're planning to sell. Now let's talk about that 13 million units that they're planning to sell, because that means they have some big software for the second half of this year. Because remember, they have to give their forecast. How much are you going to do with your current system? Well, they're saying, hey, 13 million units from March of this year to March of next year. Well, what software do you have announced? You don't have much software announced, right? I mean, we got Paper Mario, we've got Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, we've got Metroid Prime 4. There isn't a ton of games out there that they have announced. So I do think that the Fire Emblem game is coming. Pokemon Legends ZA, we know that's coming in 2025 at some point. That's going to be probably a big system mover or system seller for that period in the Nintendo Switch's life at that point, right? Or that's going to move some software. But there's going to be a few other games. They still have some surprises for this year, I'm guessing there has to be some type of Mario, Zelda, or something spin-off or port of a game. So something like Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, something like that. I think that there's going to be those type of games, or even Metroid Prime 4, right? That could be the big game, plus Metroid Prime 2 and 3. There's still a lot of things that Nintendo could do to move that amount of units, and I think that if they have Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3, Metroid Prime 4, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, they have Pokemon Legends ZA, if you put out all of that in the second half and early next year, then yeah, you're probably going to sell your 13 million units, because that's stuff that people have been wanting for quite some time. And I'm sure they'll have another game or so outside of what I even talked about. Nintendo does keep their secrets. So that is going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. We went over the gambit of things. I will have a live stream talking about this and discussing it even more, but I do find it fascinating overall. The plan, stage one, it is here when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 and what they're going to be doing, and it's going to be a wild ride as we break down everything leading into the launch of this system. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.